we have political analyst Price Soukup here to help us evaluate what happened in the Senate race here in Washington State between Patty Murray and challenger Dino Rossi. Thanks for joining us today, Price.
Thanks for having me, Cody.
It's been quite a year for Republican candidates in both the House and Senate, where we saw a landslide election in the House, and the Republicans gaining seats in the Senate. However, our very own Patty Murray was able to hold on to a victory margin of 4%. This was surprising, judging by polling results that showed Dino Rossi leading by 0.5%. Let's see why this happened. What were some contributing factors that allowed Murray to push the final amount to gain her victory over Rossi?
Well, to begin with, Patty Murray was the incumbent in the state of Washington, and thus had a fairly big advantage going into the race. Her incumbency advantage has been calculated at 6%. However, Patty Murray was able to gain important support through the median voter. This is the voter who decides the elections. She was able to appeal to the median voter, which pushed her across the finish line at the end of the race, regardless of what the polls had predicted. We saw a minor favoring of the polls towards the Republican Party, and thus it wasn't a big surprise that Murray was able to keep hold of her seat in Washington State, which has had a historical voting pattern of going Democratic.
All right, let's turn to the demographics. There's a large population in Seattle that's known to be Democratic, leaving much of the rest of the state up in the air. What was the key district and demographic that led to her success in your mind?
Well, we know that she was able to gain the vote from King County, a very populous Democratic district containing Seattle, which gave her a large amount of blue votes. This district is home to 1/3 of the voters, and she was able to win 64% of the vote, which gave her 60,000 vote advantage over her challenger Dino Rossi. She also led the women votes by 56%, which is another key vote because it constitutes 50% of the population. She was also able to appeal to the working class in Washington, where she is able to gain a lot of support among the demographic of $30,000 to $50,000 earners.
So on the day before the election, Rossi was ahead in the polls by about 0.5%, yet Murray pulled through to win. Even then, the majority of the time votes were being counted across the state. There was never really a clear winner for this election until right at the end. What were your speculations about the...
Well, we saw a major form of surge and decline this year because of the fact that it was an off year for presidential elections. This meaning that the Democrats who surged to vote in the presidential election in 2008 did not have the same amount of support this year, thus it being an off year, and thus the Democratic vote declined. However, because of her incumbency advantage and experience in Washington State, enough voters were able to mobilize on election days to prove the polls wrong and giving her a margin of victory of 4%. Many of these Democrats were afraid of losing because of the closeness of the poll.
All right, well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm your host, Cody Baker, signing out.